I can't even start to go down the road of gambling.
I kind of have free reign to do whatever I want to do in this single space.
Do not put this on my feed anymore, Chizzy.
As a single guy, very easy to get caught up in yes, and yes looks like yes to relationship, yeah, yes to attractions, yes to the flesh, yes to lack of discipline.
Challenging between the travel and the work and the responsibilities. You need to be there for your son in this final transition.
So I can kind of recalibrate what a yes will look like from a communication perspective, from a parenting perspective.
Oh, I gotta change. I gotta switch up. I gotta change my energy. I gotta change my posture. I gotta change my timing. They're naturally evolving in a relationship and we're not. We're the same way all day, every day. This is how you're gonna do it. What's up, family? It's your main man, Coach Crump, with another great episode of the Boy Man King podcast, man. And I'm super excited to be with my co-host, Chizzy. Say what's up with the people, Chizzy.
What's going on, man? What's going on, my guy? I'm looking forward to this conversation, man. It's just me. It's me and you this time, so we're gonna really get to dig deep into some of the things we kind of talk about offline, and some of the conversations obviously we've had in our friendship, in the time knowing each other.
Yeah,
So
man.
man. So I'm looking forward to it, bro. How you feeling? What's good?
Man, I'm blessed, Chizzy, man. I'm super blessed. You know, when I think about reflect on my life and all that I have and all that I've done and all that I've been through, at
Yeah,
the end of the day, bro, like without a shadow of a doubt, I'm blessed. But a lot of guys ask us for mentorship. We've been mentoring people for over 20 years.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people ask us, what you do, how you do, what I mean, when you did this, why you did that. And I think one of the things that get lost as a man, to kind of walk into who your fullness is yes, have non-negotiables, but also have no's.
yeah.
Have things you just fundamentally don't do. It's so interesting. I was at a social gathering and everybody was showing me their bets on gaming, like betting on the game, parlays. Man, I almost I almost made. And for me, bro, that's a no-no. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like for me, it's like I can't even start to go down the road of gambling because it's gonna morph into it could morph into something else, but more importantly, my bandwidth is taking on something that is not and it's not for every man, but you do got to know yourself to know that at the end of the day you are a man, you are a human, and you do battle your flesh. And so don't think that a degree or that age or that money negates the fact that you are still sinful, that you are still selfish. And the reason I say no, and my wife in some ways she'll call me a traditionalist, but it was like the reason why I say we do certain things and we don't do certain things is to protect ourselves from
From
ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like some things is like protected from outside people, but not a lot of the no's is protecting you from yourself. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get myself involved or engaged because I know what I'm privy to ultimately get involved with and what it could possibly lead to, which could be just a deterrent and a distraction for me and my family and those that I quote unquote try the best to take care of or represent. So, nose is not just for outside.
yeah.
Nose is for the man inside to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, you protect yourself from yourself.
Yeah, I know. I have a similar. I think mine's a little bit more centered around the space that I'm in now as a single man. And I think
Mm.
even my news may have to be a little stronger in my mind anyway, because I kind of have free reign to do whatever I want to do in this single space. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so, like you said,
Yeah.
protecting myself from myself, is essential. So, my news look like for me, social media, certain people I don't follow. You know what I'm saying?
Come on,
Certain
talk about it.
exposure.
Talk about it. That's where we going.
Yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
not put this on my feed anymore, Chizzy.
The flash is weak, man. I'm gonna be real. The flash is weak, and it's easy to get caught up I was listening to one of our brothers had said it years ago, maybe a couple years back. And Charles, it was. He's like, yo, I function as a married man, as a single man. I'm functioning, I'm living, and I'm trying to function as though I'm a married man in terms of his fleshly discipline, in terms of his spiritual discipline. You know what I mean? Because as a single guy, it's very easy to get caught up in yes. And yes looks like yes to relationship, yeah, yes to attractions,
Mm,
yes to the flesh, you know, yes to lack of discipline. You know what I mean? And I think, because
mm,
I do believe that within the confines of marriage, there is a level of discipline that just comes in functioning in that space. Your routines are very different.
fact,
You know what I mean? So
fact.
for me, those knows, are vital, and that's just the social side of the no. Of course, there's an emotional side of the no that I hold strong to, which is not no in terms of I don't negotiate my mental health side. I don't negotiate my workouts. I don't negotiate. So I say no to anything that's going to disrupt that routine. And
Mm,
routines are vital to consistency. Routines are vital to actualizing goals. You know what I mean? And some people are like, what you mean? Like, no, what you mean? No, no, like, yo, man of God, you're supposed to be out there helping. You're supposed to, yes, 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 but no, like, no is a healthy boundary because if you allow people to dictate outcomes for you, you'll be saying yes all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, sorry, and you don't have nothing left for self. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
no is
yeah, that's
critical.
and I love that you talked about it from a space of like protecting your physical and mental as well because I did bad at that. That
Yeah,
was one of my challenges for years. I would say yes to everybody who I wanted to help every single
yeah,
thing and it's so funny, Chizzy. I got the bug to want to do it again.
yeah,
And I said, Chris, no, no, no. And let me tell you, I'm so bad at trying to help so many people that I just lock myself in the house or I lock myself. Like
yeah,
I purposely isolate myself because
yeah,
I know once I hear something and somebody cries wolf, I done kicked in, I done did something. So it's like, bro, I just protect myself from myself. It was funny. I have a coach, I have an executive coach who I have right now. And I told him about this season. I said, man, I just got to push through the summer. The summer was so challenging between the travel and the work and the responsibilities. I was like, yeah, man. He's like, man, did you celebrate yourself? And I went to Miami and I took an extra day to celebrate myself and I celebrated my team, celebrated with my queen. And then I was like, I told him what I was currently doing. He was like, hey, that's a tough season too. I thought you just left a tough season. And so sometimes you got to talk this stuff out with people
yeah,
because you got to be honest about where you are as a man as it relates to responsibilities that you're doing with the age that you are, the personal goals that you have, the resources that you have, the bandwidth that you have. And so I'm grateful for this space, this place, because do need an outlet where I'm adding value. So shout out to the Boy Man King Pod for us to kind of just have this conversation
yeah,
because, I gotta have an element where I'm giving back. But in your mind, sometimes, Chizzy, you forgot that we're giving back to thousands of people all over the world on this platform, and you still trying to do something else in the local community. It's
yeah.
like, bro, right now, just right now, Crump, not forever. You
Zero
need to
in.
focus on taking care of what you got to take care of, doing your job, getting back to your family. And God convicted me because I was like, God, what, because crazy, bro. Like, what I need to be doing next, and what I need to be doing. And he's like, bro, there is no next. It's what you have right now. You need to be there for your son in his final transition. Like, yes, he went through his rites of passage, but this whole thing of trying to play ball, being in high school, trying to get to college, like, Chizzy, like that is a huge transition for a young man.
Yeah,
And so all of my extra efforts now has went to like locking in or reminding myself of that. And I think that helps you with the no when you know why and you know for who you're saying no for. Now, if you know that you're saying no to them to say yes to my son, you're saying no to them to say yes to my well-being, you're saying no to them to say yes to my significant other, you're saying no to them to say yes to my responsibilities. It makes it easier to say no and double down when saying no hurts you because it looks so good to say yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
it probably feels good to say yes, but it's like it's going to be detrimental to the other things that I want to support.
bro. Like listening to you talk, right? Um, it's sparking something in me, and I'm gonna be, I tend to wear my emotions on my sleeve a lot, right? But I'm gonna be real for you right now in this space at this time because we're having a conversation about news, we're having a conversation about yeses and what we need as men, right? Like I'm really struggling at this particular point in my life with saying no to my kids, and I'm gonna frame it in a way that you kind of know a little bit about what's going on, you know, and this is where I struggle with a no. So I'm gonna use you to kind of give me that perspective that I sometimes struggle to have for myself. Sometimes when you're going through stuff and you have these blockers, you're in the frame and you
Yeah,
can't see outside the frame. You know what I mean? So right now I'm having a really tough time with the relationship with my kids. You know where I stand on this as it relates to me as a parent and how I go hard for
yeah,
them. And I feel like I'm in a season now where my no is hurting me. It's going against everything that I believe. So, stuff is fragmented. There's distance. There's a lack of communication. But the communication is really really contentious when the communication happens between my son and my daughter, right? So I'm forcing
mm,
myself to say no because I want to be able to preserve the man, the parent, the God man in me so that I can kind of recalibrate what a yes will look like from a communication
mm,
perspective, from a parenting perspective. And so, this is my opportunity to seek catharsis for and viewers that are listening, because I'm pretty sure it's somebody else who's struggling in a space where they feel like they're doing so much for their family and it's not being received well, or it's contentious, or the disrespect is happening, and you have to put necessary no's in place that goes against probably
mm.
everything I believe in as it relates to how I parent, but it's necessary to keep me grounded so I can find other ways to maneuver what's happening in my life. As a dad, so when I hear you talk and I hear about CJ and I hear about Jada, it wounds my heart because I know what that's like. But at the same token,
Mm.
it hits me hard because I'm like, yo, like I feel like I'm missing
Yeah.
all of the things. But I think those no's for me now are necessary to get to a better place of a yes later on in the future, man.
I would help you in this way. My biological mom, since we both going there, my
Yeah,
biological mom, she gave me up for adoption.
yeah,
She don't like to say it like this, and she don't frame it like this. But the reality is, she gave me up for adoption because I was black. You know what I mean? Like if I was white, you know, she wouldn't have gave me up for adoption.
right.
Um, that built a lot of whatever it built, for my life. And then she found me. I was 27 years old when she found me, and now I'm 42, and we have a dope relationship. And you couldn't have never told me at 27 and at 20 and at 30 that I would be in a space where I lost my dad this year,
Yeah,
who raised me.
yeah,
Not my biological dad, but my dad who raised me from 3 months old, who's my superhero. Um, and the relationship I have with her, like, I didn't know that you need your parents in adulthood. That wasn't something that was taught to me or shown to me. And Chizzy, man, I've known you for over 20 years, and I
yeah,
told you your parenting inspired my parenting of how much you care and communicate with your children. Unfortunately, the relationship with moms have just made it challenging for the rapport with the children. And I know that that's going to fade and they're going to walk in adulthood and they're going to need somebody just to be there to talk to, to listen, to help them with their children. And you're going to be there. And so it's hard for them. They can't see the picture when they're in the frame. You mentioned about yourself, but it's challenging for them. And I've known also some of the experiences where you've tried to interject and it kind of made sometimes the situation go left
yeah,
and you be demonized or you respond in a way that's not, that's detriment to your own character. So for
right,
me, it's
right,
like protect yourself from yourself in the sense of you never gonna stop loving them. You're never gonna stop caring for them. But it's a situation, and I do say this without being the expert, where they're gonna have to come around to it. You keep doing what you're doing as far as, letting them know that you're available, letting them know that you're there. But when they're ready and they mature in a way to realize, man, there was a lot of things that made it, you know what I mean? Because I had to get to a point, like my mom was always shamed. She always felt bad, and she always, was something that, she regretted and struggled with. And sometimes she still has her moments still to this day in her 60s, right? But I reassure her that, number one, it was the best thing to do. Number two, I don't have that towards you. And number three, what we have now is actually special. I didn't know what we would have in our 40s and 60s would be special, but it is. And so it's just important to understand that the journey continues.
Yeah,
We talk
yeah,
about it all the time on the
yeah.
Boy Band King, because I think sometimes we want it so much the way we want it now, not realizing that they're never, your whole entire existence, that's never not going to be your son and daughter.
Right.
And that the circumstance of your son and daughter now is never not going to need help throughout their lives. Like they're going to need help. They don't know it. They think that, oh, I needed you here. But I'm grateful for men in my life who have adult children. And they was like, man, you would have thought that I didn't do XYZ when they was kids, but and they need me now more than they needed me when they was teenagers. And so I would just be encouraging you that, the journey continues even as a parent, that
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that's going to stop because they turn 21. It's not something that's going to stop because they turn 25. Like it's going to continue. And as you continue to just, let it be known that I'm here for you. And in certain spaces, show up for them. That time will come when you guys can have that honest one-on-one and kind of have that breakthrough. Because you're going to be in such a good space. But if you're not in a good space, and they finally come to you, you don't want to be, oh, now you got something to say. Now you want to talk.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
want to be
yeah.
petty or undermining or kind of blow it up where it took them so much just to get there
Just
with
yeah,
you
sure,
that
sure.
you just want to be able to, when they finally get there, hey, listen, whatever you want to talk about, whatever, I'm here for you.
Right.
That's what I always wanted to share with you, that I'm here for you. But yeah, man, I just want to encourage you, bro, because everybody's situation looks differently. You know what I mean? Everybody's situation unique. And I had to even as a man and as a parent grow to mature in that space, man. You know how we are, man, like alpha men in the sense of like, authoritative, you know what I mean? We'll take initiative, like we're gonna make sure we take accountability, take ownership of the whole situation. But man, when I look at my children, spending time with them this week, like they're individuals, bro. They're doing their own thing, running their own plate, and I gotta figure out how to weave into their world. And I'm just leveraging the influence I have with my son just because he's a minor, he's not driving. Yet he's about to drive, but I know I got like a little short window of like he's going to be domesticated at the same house every single day. So just trying to leverage that time, man, and I'm grateful because now I got great men like you and other great men who tell me their stories about their situation, their circumstance. I'm like, wow, and I think that's part of the blessing is realize sometimes your situation is already blessed just to have it because I got another friend
Yeah,
who struggles with me talking about parenting because he couldn't have any children of his own,
yeah, yeah.
right? And they talked about adopting with his wife, but they end up ultimately not, and accepting that they was gonna love each other. And so, everybody got their own struggles, bro. And so I'm just grateful that we can even have the conversation.
I think the takeaway for me, just obviously, I'm bringing this to the forefront because I know that there are other people who are in situations similar to mine, and obviously, this is part about me, but more about you know the importance because we're talking about yeses and nos, right? The importance of centering self and being in a healthy space so that, like you said, so the takeaway is, continue for me. I continue to kind of pour into myself so that when the time is right, the resentment is gone. I can look at it with a clear head. It's not coming from a place of emotion where now, I can really receive the human adults that our children and my children have turned out to be. That's another thing about parenting as well. There's a level of entitlement that we feel comes with these are mine And as we know, even biblically and spiritually, they're given to you through God for a particular time. And your job is to nurture, to support, to develop them and put them out into the world so they can be, optimal citizens of the world, and they're individuals and they have their own minds. And so now, as even for me, as I approach a different phase of parenting, I have to continuously tell myself that they are adults, potentially adults making decisions, and my relationship and my rapport building with them. Yes, I'm their father, but it comes from a mutual respect sort of thing, just as a human being,
Mm.
first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we lose sight of the human element in terms of, they have their own ideals, they have their own choices, they have their own way that they want to live their lives. And sometimes the entitlement of, well, trying to live vicariously through them makes you feel like you have some ownership over the choices that they have, or some ownership over the stuff that they do when, if they decide to go left and you're saying going right. And so parenting even now looks different. It becomes more of a support and a guide,
Yeah.
and give perspective and a different lens, as opposed to when they were younger. And obviously, this too. This is the direction that we're going. This is the instruction that
Yeah.
I'm giving
Come
you
on.
as a father.
Come
It's
on,
more
bro.
or less, all right, you want to make a decision. These are the potential pitfalls that could come with a certain decision, whether I'm involved in it or not. You know what I mean? So for the people that are watching, that could give some level of peace, because you now recognize that you've done all you can, and an individual person they're gonna make decisions that sometimes are contrary to what you think they may do. But you also know that there's always the ability to kind of evaluate it, and you're able to still grow the relationship in a healthy way over time, just being consistent, just with your messaging, man. So that's kind of the space that I've now gotten into, and knowing, all right, well, it's not going the way I think it's going to go right now, but eventually, like you
Yeah.
said, I'm still a good human being. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to nurture all the relationships that I want to curate in my life, because I function with that level of intentionality now, because I'm very selective in my non-negotiables as well, right? So that's part of that. So you just have to sort of navigate it and angle it in a way that's conducive to where you want to go, sort of thing. So
But I think that's even good too, Chizzy, because here's the truth. You know, parenting is for us is something that we have to be intentional to transition because they're naturally transitioning.
facts.
They're not getting 10 and being like, I'm really struggling being 11. They're like, man, I can't wait to be 11.
Yeah,
They're not 12 and struggling to be 30. I can't wait to be a teenager. They
right.
can't wait to be 16. They can't wait to be 18. They can't wait to be 21. They can't wait to be on their own. Like they're naturally going from 0 to 20
Yeah,
like seamlessly. We're struggling because we still see them as our baby. Oh,
yeah,
that's my baby girl. Oh, that's
yeah,
my young man. And
yeah,
but so we as adults, we have to be the conscious persons involved in this relationship that, oh, I gotta change. I gotta switch up. I,
yeah,
I gotta change my energy. I gotta change my posture. I gotta change my timing.
yeah.
And that's probably what was more detrimental to the relationship where they're naturally evolving in a relationship and we're not. We're like,
But
we're the same way all day, every day. This is how you're gonna do it. It's like, nah, that's not the same child. That's still your child, but that's not the same child. Yeah, that child ain't struggling to walk no more. That child ain't struggling to talk no more. That child is not struggling to read and write no more. That child is not struggling to comprehend anymore. It understands the social dynamics. It understands rules and laws now. It understands right and wrong now. It understands not only what it wants now. It understands that how it views the world now. So
yeah,
now you have to adjust to
facts,
say, how can I best serve this human being? And to your earlier point, God has made us a vessel for a temporary time to
facts.
be influenced through their life. And we got to understand how that got to work and come in and out their lives as well. Because sometimes that's what was my challenge was, oh, that's my child.
Yeah,
And so no matter what, this is the case. Now that's God's child,
facts.
and I'm their dad
You're just a
who
vessel.
has a certain level of autonomy over their life for a
During
season.
the time. Yep.
You know what I mean? I have a certain authority over their life for a season, and then the way in which I use that determines how much more or less they're developed. And so to each child that's different, because you can have this whole conversation, and then what happens if your child has Down syndrome? What happens if your child is a genius? What happens if your child has social and emotional trauma? You can have all of this ideals that you want, but you have to look at that individual child that God has given you to be like, what does this child need, and who do I have to be to help support those needs?
Parenting is probably the most stretched you will ever become as a person. Marriage, relationships, saying no, that is one component. But the nerves of a parent for yourself, for them, look very, very different. And it's no cookie cutter. Like you can go to counseling, you can read books
Mm.
on everything else on the planet in terms of personal development, in terms of professional development, physical development, but no one's ever written a book about how to parent a child. I mean, they may have, but I would assume it's not a bestseller because it's not a cookie cutter thing, and as organic can be, because what we're talking about is individuals and developing the characters and the nuances of individuals. And of course, as we know, depending on the phases that we are in our lives, the stages we are in our lives, our children will experience us differently depending on the phase of life you're in. So Chris Crumpler, Che Powell, at 30 years old with a baby is different from Che Paul and Chris Crumpler at 35 and 40 with a baby because I've been through things. I've matured emotionally. Maybe I've regressed a little bit. So, the struggles of life may have made me more difficult, more, combative in how I show up. You know what I mean? So I think that's also another element because people often say, hey, you come from a two-parent home. Why is your brother this way? And why are you this way? You know what I mean? But as you know, like you as an adult, as a parent, your experiences and how you view life and how you show up in different spaces will differ depending on the phases that you're in. And children will experience that sometimes good, sometimes not so good, man.
You make a great point where I think, because I never heard somebody say that. And I was like, man, do I agree with what you just said when you said that parenting is of all the relationships will stretch you more than any other? First, I'll be like marriage. I go back because I think parenting is because it needs constant resources from you.
Constant, constant.
Like, 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 like the resources are so many levels. It needs, emotional resources, physical resources, tangible resources. Like social services will really pull up on you and take your child if you
Yeah,
don't provide the emotional, the physical. Whereas, like, you know what I mean? Like you have to be able to provide a lot of resources for this person as well as yourself. Whereas like you and your spouse, y'all could partner that thing out. Okay, you take care of this part, I take care of this part. You take care of yourself day to day, I take care of myself day to day. We share these resources, right? But with a child, they just like, they're tired, they're hungry, they're sick, they're lonely, like they need to be educated. There's so many things that requires of you. And here's the beautiful part. Even though it's probably the most demanding relationship, it is one of the most rewarding. And I think, if we be honest, and I always say for me, because I just feel like I'm very in tune to my selfishness
yeah,
and I'm very in tune to my pridefulness. Is like if I didn't have early in my life wife and children, man, I would be one of the biggest egotistical jerks, privately. Publicly, I know how to front face, right?
right.
But privately, like if it's either my way or the highway,
Yeah,
like that. I'm not doing like compromise and stuff.
right.
That's just not how I'm wired.
Yeah, I got you.
My wife and children humbled me to be like, man, if you don't be considerate, you gonna lose it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And I love them so much. My love for them push my personal growth. Does that make sense? It's like
sure.
if I wouldn't have had them, like I knew how to get what I wanted. I knew how to win. I know how to compete. And God blessed me with some gifts and some talents and some abilities from a leadership perspective and a communication perspective and an athletic perspective. And
uh,
like I know how to be quote unquote successful in this world, what I put my mind to, right?
right. Yeah.
But my character, oh man, that had to be forced upon me.
Yeah.
That had to be forced upon me.
That's where you
And
need your
and
reps, though, because it don't come naturally.
yeah,
For a lot of people, it just doesn't come naturally. And I think that's the beautiful part about
yeah,
parenting as well. Like the kids part, the kids component, you have this organic, built-in desire, biologically, to support, to be there. It's different with relationships, personal relationship, business relationship. You're making a choice. You choose a wife, you pick a partner, you
mm,
grow to love her, you grow to connect spiritually. But with your kids, they are from you, they're a piece of you. So there's an attachment
come on.
that you have to these kids that sometimes you can't even explain, that forces you either to prick your conscience when you're doing wrong, or forces you to to want to develop and continue to nurture what it is they have, because it's innate. And so you can't run away from it a lot of times as much as you try. Like, you can get a new relationship, you could probably get a new wife if you wanted one, if it goes left. But your kids, you feel what I'm saying? Like, organically,
Yeah,
that's a part of you. That is you, and it's something that will always pull you in that direction, which is an amazing thing if it gets done right, whatever right looks like. But it could be very, very
yeah.
detrimental as well. So
I will wrap it up with this, Chizzy, that I hope what we shared when we discussed today's episode that, you know, go to your children if you can go to them and
yeah,
just tell them thank you, that you just appreciate them being in your life and do something to acknowledge that. Like really do something and a lot of times just spend time with them and a meal. And for those of you who know of people who do have children,
yeah,
let them know that, you're proud of them and encourage them because it's not easy. And
not at
so, man,
all.
Chiz, I just want to let you know, bro, I love you. I see you.
Love you too, my guy.
Like I told you, man, you always was somebody who I gleaned from, who I took some gain from in that space. And so, to all of our fathers, particularly to all of our fathers, man, there's so many challenging situations that I'm aware of with custody battles,
Yeah,
child support battles, just manipulation on the highest level.
yeah,
Man, I just want to say, as men and as fathers, man, we see you on the Boy Man King podcast. We thank you for the sacrifices that you're trying to make for your child. And as you take care of yourself and as you make sure you're in a good space, don't give up on your kids. Don't give up still trying. Um, just be honest with yourself, take care of yourself, support yourself. And on behalf of the Boy Man King podcast,
yes,
we want to
sir.
shout out all of our fathers out there to let you know, men, we see you. You're
Yep.
important,
Hit
you're
us up, man.
necessary, and your
Yeah,
children need you. Yeah, man.
yeah, man. Love.
As we say on the Boy Man King podcast, the journey
Journey
continues,
continues.
and we out. Peace.